been following Steve Harvey for years, and I'm so disturbed about what he's going through now with his wife, Marjorie. I remember Steve when he had his TV show, and he was a teacher in one of the high schools. I just thought he was that kind of thing. And that nephew, Tommy, and Steve did some funny acts. I mean, they just, and the way he talks about his father and mother and sisters, and his sister used to come on. She was very colorful, and we would listen to her. I don't know, it was just a generally beautiful program about his radio show and how important that is in the lives of the community. As a matter of fact, during, I think during the summers, he had a show in Las Vegas called The Hoodies. And one year, my sister Dottie and I flew out to Las Vegas just to be with Steve and the crew at the Hoodies. And they had all kinds of stars out there. It was just wonderful. Wall-to-wall people in the hotels. They had all kinds of activities for the people, and we enjoyed ourselves immensely. Now, after a while, of course, he was going through his divorces and all, but he never talked about that. We never heard about his divorces, and he would sometimes be a little sad on the show, and we knew that something was going on, but we had no idea that he was having problems in those early marriages because he kept everything above board. I was listening the day when Shirley Strawberry came to the show. Oh, she took the show to another level because she had that dignity about herself and the way she talked and her voice. She was just wonderful. And she was not as brazen and brash as Steve and nephew Tommy were. She was more demure and very cautious about what she would say. And it took a while for her to really get into the swing of things, but she did. And she has made her mark. Well, a couple of weeks ago, now let me say this, before a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, I listened to Tasha K's show, and she interviewed Steve's present wife's first husband. He has been in prison for about 20 years, and he wrote a book about his life. And in that book, he talks about Steve Harvey's present wife, Marjorie. Oh, Steve loves her so much. Oh, my goodness. Marjorie walks on water in my head. She's so fabulous to look at. And when she talks, she's so articulate. She's just a beautiful woman inside and out. And I was so pleased when Steve found her. Some people think that they were going together while he was married to his wife, but Steve says that he was not going with her, and I believe Steve. I believe it. Now, of course, he's not an angel, and he probably has had girlfriends before, maybe with his wife, but Marjorie is completely different. You can tell how much he loves her and would fight for her if necessary. She is just what he needed because she's so brilliant that she has been able to guide him in certain directions, help him with his clothes. They had the Steve and Marjorie Harvey Foundation, where they're doing some wonderful things for youth, girls and boys. and they just have so much to live for. Well, her first husband wrote this book, and in this book, he talks about his life as a drug dealer. And in it, he also says that when he was married to Marjorie, that she was helping him with his drug deals and all of that. Now, we don't know that that's true. I don't want to believe that that's true. But sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. Well, everybody has a past. And she was 18 years old, 18 and 19 at that time. She didn't know all of what she was doing. But you see, he's writing this book, and this book is affecting what Steve and Marjorie Harvey have together. And I'm hoping that what they're going through will not diminish their love for one another. And I kind of have a feeling that it won't, because on Steve's side, he just loves Marjorie so very much, and she loves him too. Now, the important thing that I want to bring out here today is the part that Shirley Strawberry played a few weeks ago. And I love Shirley Strawberry. I was nervous because I thought that what she did, that Steve was going to fire her. And he made her do the strawberry letter about herself. Because you see, what happened was Shirley's husband last year got locked up for some horrible things that he had done. Her husband they had been married for about 8 years. She did not know the kind of man he was behind her back, but she certainly found out about it. And the story goes that she was at the hairdresser getting her hair done, and the police came and took her car and said that she could not go back into her home because they had arrested her husband. And she had to have the beautician to take her to a friend's home where she has been living ever since. I mean, not Shirley Strawberry. I mean, she lived above reproach. But that just goes to show that when you fall in love and you don't know the total background of that person, you can get in trouble. But now, let me say this to you. Last year in 2022, Shirley was talking on the phone to her husband, who is incarcerated. And in the conversation, she said a couple of things about Steve and about Marjorie. In my opinion, they were not big deals. But with the climate of what's going on now, it makes what happened a year ago a bigger deal. Shirley said to her husband, just on a telephone conversation to him who is behind bars, he said, well, how's Steve doing? Something to that. She said, oh, Steve is doing fine. And he said, well, how's Marjorie doing? And she said, Marjorie's doing fine. You know, she calls us the help. And whenever we go over to their house, I just love their house because it's so beautiful. And Marjorie has a sauna, and she has a masseuse that comes in and gives her a massage. I mean, Shirley was just talking about the good that Marjorie had it, how good she had it. And she also said that when Steve went up the steps, he was winded when he would get to the top of the stairs. He was winded. Now, we knew that Steve was coming through something medically, because that's been on social media, that he was having some kind of issue. He mentioned what it was, but I can't remember what it was now. So it was not unusual for her to say that he was winded. Maybe she never noticed that he was winded like that before. Anyway, what happened was a social media influencer was able to purchase the tape that Shirley Strawberry had with her husband. And that person, whoever it is, I haven't found out who that person is yet, that person put it out. That was a terrible thing to do. You know, I never knew that whenever you talk to somebody who is locked up, there is it's taped. Whatever they say is taped. And you can purchase the tape. I never knew that. Because people talk of all kinds of things on the phone. You never think that it's going to actually be in public. I never knew that you could actually take a tape of someone that you've talked to in prison and use it for some negative type of thing. That was terrible. Anyway, Steve made Shirley Strawberry tell about the whole story. The conversation with her husband that happened over a year ago, and what she said, how she felt about it. Oh, she was so heartbroken. She was so heartbroken. And Steve just made her tell the whole thing. Of course, they knew, Steve and the crew knew that her husband was incarcerated, but they never said a mumbling word because they're family. And that's what family does. Family sticks together. So now we come to what's going on now. Steve is so sad because of what's going on with he and his wife, Marjorie. A few weeks ago, they had a rumor out that Steve and his wife were on the verge of getting a divorce. That's not true. And I'm so happy that that is not true. But it seems that people are just coming against Steve now, thinking of things to say about him. And I think it's because he is such a successful man. He has been through a lot of heartache, trouble, and pain. You know, he had the talk show on TV, Family Feud. He has done other things on TV. People don't like that. People get jealous about things like that. And they don't hesitate to make things up and to spread lies and just rumblings, just talk. And that's what he's going through now. People are just coming forth saying all kinds of things, putting all kinds of things out. And I wish they would stop. Why is it that when you get a dog that's down, people want to keep kicking that dog, stomping that dog, and making life miserable for that dog? In this case, I'm talking about Steve, not calling him a dog, but he's a cute dog nonetheless. So I want you to think about this and just whisper some prayers for Steve Harvey and his family. They are not finished with what they're going through yet. They have a lot more to go through, and I'm going to be right here with them. I'm going to be following their case, but I'm going to be saying positive things about them because they're getting ready to go through. When the people buy that book and other things come out, that's going to be a very, very difficult time for Steve and Marjorie Harvey. Let's pray for them.